Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to LCK Summer Promotion Tournament. I am Atlas. I am joined by my good friend LS here on the desk. The Valdanalist has gone home, and we now finally have Lesnek back on the desk with us. Very excited to have you here for what could be some very interesting matches, and the results, regardless of what happens, are interesting because we're saying goodbye to one of the two teams that promoted alongside one another. Way back when, I mean, it was almost 2 years ago now that Sandbox and Griffin made their way into the LCK. And at the end of some of the regular seasons, these are the two teams at the very top of the standings. And now, fallen all the way down to the relegation tournament. This is just unprecedented, and we will be welcoming one of either SEORABEOL Gaming, which is led, of course, by the promotion contractor himself, Kakao, and Team Dynamics, which is, you know, Kuzan and Rich from Gen G fame, and beyond from MVP. He was in the LCK for 3 years on MVP and had some pretty standout performances throughout that time. Was never really the top-tier jungler, but did have his moments. So excited to see who's going to be stepping into the LCK.
Well, this is going to be interesting. So the first match that we're going to have is the promotion match.
Yeah.
So whoever wins that does advance. Whoever loses goes on tomorrow to play in a one more chance or last chance qualifier. Back into the LCK or into the LCK, depending on how you want to view it. And then we'll have Sandbox versus Griffin. And I don't know who to expect in the last series. I think Griffin's the favorite.
I'd say so.
Which, Sandbox, I mean, they're their own worst enemy inside of the draft phase. But the first series, I think that Dynamics, they looked a lot cleaner yesterday.
I think there's a really interesting thing that we have to look at, right? Because if we're touting that Sandbox look worse than Griffin, then theoretically Team Dynamics had a much easier time in that matchup anyway, right? It was a 2-0. It looked not close. I felt like the draft was really disrespectful out of Sandbox. I don't think that they really accounted for what Dynamics were good at. You know, the Aatrox solution issue with those being the two champions that Rich can perform on. He was able to get whichever one he wanted in both games back-to-back. It looked like Summit wasn't able to get over the top of that matchup regardless, and it felt a little bit like disrespect coming out from our LCK team, thinking that, look, this is just a Challengers career squad. We don't really need to worry too much. But yeah, they did, because both of our LCK teams have lost, and now it's desperation for both of our LCK squads. And Griffin went to Worlds last year, and now there's a very good chance that they're not going to make it back into the LCK. They need to win back-to-back matches. But we are going to get into our first match, and this is definitely the good news story because one of these teams is promoting right here, right now. Yeah.
One team will qualify for the LCK. Both teams defeated LCK teams. So this is the second time in a row that a promotion series will guarantee at least another team coming up from Challengers. And this makes it really sad to say goodbye to the Challenger Series. Obviously, in the Western scene, there wasn't always a lot of success with the Challenger Series trying to promote up. But in Korea, it has been the making of many teams that have come into the LCK and found success. And even APK, finding their groove in LCK was definitely very surprising.
And also, APK just announcing a whole lot of added sponsors in preparation for franchising as well. It's really cool to see this very new up-and-coming team that had been trying to get into the LCK for so long finally get there, and now they're making things happen as well as far as being an organization. So that is really, really cool to see. And both of these teams are going to have to do the same thing. Of course, SEORABEOL Gaming, a team that you're quite familiar with. The same owners as ESC Ever or BBQ Olivers then afterwards. But we're going to start with the lineup for Team Dynamics. No changes, of course. This is very akin to that of Dragon X, where they just run the same 5 players every single time, and they've been working out very well. Rich, Beyond, and Kuzan, some names that you definitely remember. Guga as well, having been in 6 promotion tournaments so far. It's what happens when you are a player on Kongdu Monster, and FaZe was fantastic yesterday. As this is going to be SEORABEOL Gaming. Tal, Kakao, Dan Chung, Sungyun, and Nova. Dan Chung, the only player to have not been in an LCK squad, but he's played in Challengers career a lot. Also played over in Game Talents and Snake over in the LPL. So certainly a name that has been around the traps as far as competitive League of Legends for a very long time. And this is going to be our key player matchup. Rich versus Tal. The Faker of Heroes of the Storm versus a man that played alongside Faker many moons ago, but not in the season of SKT's history that anyone wants to remember. 2018, that's a black spot. You know, we just don't think about it. That was not LCK didn't exist during that moment because there was no SKT at the top of the standings during that particular year. But Tal then moved over to Humble Life Esports, played alongside Sungyun for quite some time, and it really does feel like the second coming of the Humble Life players that are no longer in the LCK. We'll see whether they're going to be able to do what they've been doing throughout the entire Challenger's career. They've only dropped one map to Team Dynamics so far, so this would be an upset if Team Dynamics are able to take away the win here. And I think the draft is going to be really interesting because both of these teams know each other very well.
Yeah.
And I really hope that our LCK teams are watching, because this is the kind of drafting that you need to do against these two squads, not whatever tomfoolery happened yesterday.
Yesterday was I tagged the Pope on Twitter.
You did.
I was really trying to call in the reinforcements on that one.
I told you about this, but I went to a confessional afterwards. I needed to atone for all of the sins that were displayed while I was present.
Yeah.
I felt like maybe I got infected. Infected, definitely a word that I shouldn't be throwing around right now. Make sure you stay safe, guys. Wash your hands. Kakao looking very relaxed right there, as Kuzan has had a smile on his face during every single one of our games.
Yep.
Kuzan has been known for being a little bit tiltable, often can be one of these more emotional players, but I think he's going to be pivotal in this game because I think Dan Chung, on your screen right there, I don't think he had the greatest of series yesterday. And he did manage to get onto his Galio. It was fantastic in teamfights, but he was consistently losing the laning phase.
Yeah.
Yukal had an extraordinary series, actually, but I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that he was able to get over the top of Dan Chung in every single matchup.
Yep. And we'll see what the draft is going to have in store for us. Dynamics obviously going to be on the blue side. SEORABEOL on red, so we'll see how they can actually utilize counter picks to their advantage. I think one of the biggest stories from this is actually paying attention to Rich and seeing if Dynamics can win here today, because as you were mentioning, he's the Faker of HOTS. We did see him previously in the LCK, but he was a mid laner at that point in time. He has since,
he was like a Kiana one-trick, wasn't he, when he was playing for Gen G?
Came in for Kiana. And now he's moved up onto top lane. So, okay, we're going to get into the ban pick. Winners match, game number 1.
Team Dynamics will be on the blue side to start things off, wearing their correct colors. I like that a lot. It's SEORABEOL Gaming. Of course, we spoke about this yesterday. They are named after a rice cake shop.
Okay.
And SEORABEOL is actually the name of the place that the shop is at, but it's an ancient name, you know, from very long ago.
Okay.
And that's where they get their name from. That's why their colors are the sort of pastel pink, yellow, and green, because that's the colors of one of the rice cakes that they sell.
Okay.
It's actually super adorable. And the first two bands are going to be that Elise and the Olaf. The Trundle to come out afterwards. These are exactly the same bands that we saw come out of Gen G in their first game against T1 in the final. Didn't work out so well for them, but it was a first pick Graves, and this time around it's not going to be, as FaZe manages to get Aphelios again. He's currently 8-0 on this champion this season, and I don't know why. Everyone seems to think that it's totally okay giving it away because he's been very, very good.
Yeah.
As the Cassiopeia currently being hovered, Tal going through a few of his favorites here.
Yep. And Aphelios locked in on B1. We'll see what kind of a response we can end up getting, as he's going to lock in the set. Now we're waiting to see the second champion that SEORABEOL is going to end up going for. Now, I'm curious to see if we would ever get any mages down in bot against the Aphelios, although Songyun...
He has been a bit of an awesome dude player in the past. They do like their dark technologies. They also really like playing Misfortune. And I believe this was the squad that played Misfortune Ashe as well.
Yes.
And Songyun was definitely one of our Ashe players when he was back in the LCK. So it might be an opportunity here. We'll see whether they do decide to go for that. I think range and poke is very strong against Aphelios, especially in the early levels, as Team Dynamics are getting absolutely everything that they want right now. Rich is a two-trick. He plays Aatrox and Lucian. And he picked the Aatrox. He's picked it into set. He's feeling totally comfortable with that one. And let's see what they can do otherwise. I think Dynamics saving their mid lane pick is going to be important here.
Already, there's a lot of short range and hard engage on the side of Dynamics. Rek'Sai is going to be picked up for the Vacuum answer to the Jarvan. Aphelios and Aatrox. We'll see what they can be backed up by and what Kuzan's going to elect to take as SEORABEOL bans away LeBlanc. The way that it currently stands right now, the MF and the Set and the Rek'Sai are going to have a pretty good time because Dynamics only have one mode and it's to go in.
Yep.
So, as things currently stand, I think that the B1 through B3 versus R1, R3 favors SEORABEOL here as we're moving into secondary ban phase. Syndra gets taken away as well.
I think Syndra and Galio are going to be the Dynamics bans here. Almost has to be. Dancheng looked okay on the Syndra, not great, but his Galio has been fantastic. Not only in this tournament, but also back in challenges. So likely to see that one go next. SEORABEOL thinking about what they want to take away from Kuzan, as it is the Azir. They're not going to ban the Lucian here because they feel like there is enough physical damage on Team Dynamics for them to warrant picking a mage in the mid lane, so that's why they're going to be taking away Kuzan's LeBlanc, which was fantastic yesterday, and the Azir as well to go on top of it. Zoe is standing out a lot, and I think that if Dancheng can play it, then he would want to in this composition, but it is going to be the Darius banned away, and this is assuming that Nova is once again going to be playing that support set towards the bottom side of the map.
Well, see what they lock in on R4.
Galio's left up, so they may as well just pick it, right? I think this is a bit of a mistake out of Team Dynamics giving this one away, unless Kuzan now has an answer, right? Because Lucian smacks the heck out of Galio in the laning phase. He could go for it if he wants to.
Would be all AD.
That would be all AD.
Yeah, that would be all AD for Team Dynamics. That could be extremely rough. So Galio would get a lot of freedom going Seekers into Tab Eyes as Corki is being hovered. Now, Corki's pretty good.
Yeah, and that's going
Galio.
to answer the magic damage as well. So not too bad. Means that you still have to get through that magic shield, but that is absolutely fine. You're going to be able to even out your composition. Looking right now, very much like your very stock standard front to back style of composition, with Aatrox trying to do what he can to disrupt the front line and beyond there on his job, and also able to do the same thing as that's a Taric. And we are going full team fight for Team Dynamics here. And with the amount of DPS that they have in the Aphelios and the Corki, it certainly seems like a good idea. Because, honestly, in the late game, if Aphelios and Corki get to the item spikes that they're looking for, you only need a Cosmic Radiance amount of time to kill everyone.
Yeah. And we are going to see what is going to end up happening as Camille is going to be locked in last.
This was one of the classic Galio combos.
Yeah. This is going to be pretty interesting. As Camille comes in as a counterpick, the amount of scaling on the side of the red team here is pretty enormous. Now, obviously, Corki and Aphelios, they do scale a lot as well. The Corki is the only saving grace on the side of Dynamics if the game goes the distance, because eventually Camille will just come online and take over. She's one of the few remaining champions that can legitimately split push.
Yeah, and I actually think that choosing split push against this Dynamics comp is so incredibly smart, right? Like, they locked in the Taric, they showed their hand in, like, we want to play 5v5, and that's what we're going to commit to, and Tal just says, well, just give me a solo lane, and the Camille will be unstoppable. There is no one that can go 1v1 against her unless something goes absolutely catastrophic in the early game. So I think it's a really smart pivot out of SEORABEOL Gaming, and let's see whether it works out here. As this is still a legitimate teamfight comp out of Dynamics, but now there is a big spanner in the works in the form of Metal Legs herself on the top side of the map.
Well, Camille, Rek'Sai, Galio, Misfortune, and Set. We'll see what they can manage to do with it. This team composition really now spikes in mid-game, but has late-game insurance. Also, as Wave Clear can let Camille do what she wants to do. We'll have to see how they pilot it here going into game number 1.
Yeah, really, really cool composition out of SEORABEOL Gaming. We'll see whether they've thrown enough spanners in the works to get things working for them. As Team Dynamics make their way out onto the Rift. It's, of course, Corgi. So at least Kuzan has chosen the right skin. He's gone Hail of Blades as well for a bit of early power also on this Corgi. Can work out relatively well. And Kuzan did have some really good laning phases yesterday also against Fate. But he wasn't the mid laner that many of us were expecting, as Tile's just breakdancing in the grass. And Rich is just looking forward to Pacific Rim 3. Or 4. How many Pacific Rims are out at the moment? Maybe there's 2?
I believe that there's 2, but a third one, I believe, is supposed to come.
Well, I'm looking forward to that.
Take a look at the tail. I actually almost got a dog recently, but I didn't.
You didn't get your Samoyed?
I did not end up getting. Yeah, I'm really sad too.
I was really looking forward to that. What happened?
Well, basically decided it wasn't the best time due to the fact that like summer split's obviously coming up in like a month. I think I should have more time during like the puppy months, you know. So maybe during off season.
Well, I mean, you've got a month and a half.
Oh, I don't think that's enough time.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be a puppy for a while, actually.
Yeah.
His laning phase not going great for Dan Chung so far, but it's never really been his forte. He is a team-fighting Galio through and through, and should just be able to soak a bunch of pressure here from Kuzan and do what he can. Winds of War going to be pretty good for clearing out remaining minions. And as far as early game laning phase is concerned, who do you reckon has the advantage? I'm feeling like Dynamics are going to feel pretty okay with how things are going.
Yeah, I think that Dynamics are okay for the most part. We'll have to see what Kakao can manage to do here on the Rek'Sai. Does a 2-camp into his red buff, and this strikes me as a bit peculiar because there's no real gank setup unless the laners on the side of Dynamics make really big blunders. So he's going to end up using a lot of his buff duration. And the thing that I like out of Beyond is that he's taking a very economic route on the Jarvan, and this is sort of what I was meaning. The Sin.
Oh, well, there's multiple flashes. It's going to work this time. Yeah, exactly right. First blood. Going over to Kakao, and he continues his rampage through the jungle.
So Kuzan had flash there, didn't end up flashing away, and this is a high variance gank that it ends up working. But if Kuzan just lives there by flashing away, Jarvan's up several camps, and Kakao's just going to be quite behind. So, ends up working, and we'll see what kind of pressure they can end up getting from this, as was a cheater recall by Songyun. Ends up picking up a call, and you can see that Aphelios and Taric locked into that lane. SEORABEOL is going to pick up the right side Scuttle Crab. You can see that Beyond moving to the left-hand side now. He'll pick that one up.
Yeah, working out pretty well so far for SEORABEOL Gaming. I like the cheater recalls, always something that we look for our LCK teams. Not something we always find, as we're going to have a look at Kakao's perspective as he makes his way towards this mid lane. And yeah, just able to get the knock-up, and no flash able to be used in time. That just means a dead Corki.
And Corki ends up going down there. Kuzan didn't use his flash, though, so he will retain that for the next gank, or, you know, I guess Jarvan, if Jarvan would end up making his way there as well. As Beyond now coming down into bot lane.
Well, and many pings, but none on the side of SEORABEOL Gaming. They don't know that Beyond is here, but he's channeling his back, and he's just going to go home. Dynamics get themselves a good old push here towards the bottom side. As we have a look at those stats that we were talking about earlier, this is going to be the matchup record during 2020 Spring in Challenger. SEORABEOL Gaming just won a lot. As they're going to take man of the match as well is Tal and Songyun. Songyun has been the player that they've been playing around in the majority of their games. And he had a good day yesterday as well. Songyun, someone that I think a lot of us have missed. Is Dan Chung going to have his back stopped for free? And Tal utilizes his hookshot very effectively in getting out of the way of any of these infernal chains. But so far, Rich he's doing okay. not exactly a man that's very good at farming, LS. This is what happens when you come from being a professional Heroes of the Storm player. There's just not a lot of farming that happens in that game, so he often falls behind. His team fighting, though, has been fantastic, so we'll look to see what he can get done there, as Artal is going to notice Beyond and get the heck out of here.
And Rich just going to clear the entire wave and then end up recalling. So we'll see what can end up happening here as we pan back down to bot lane. And Songyun and Nova are just feeling pretty comfortable right now. Not sure what the Tarek stun was, but
just fun.
Yep, doesn't end up hitting anything. Cull already has 32 stacks complete. Maybe Songyun thinking about recalling. No, I think they're going to shove in yet another wave.
Multiple cheaters. It's, not too bad here from Songyun, who's been able to keep entire control of this minion wave. FaZe has been very good at controlling late game team fights on his Aphelios. That's all we've seen from him so far in the promotion tournament. And so he's probably pretty okay with just being behind a few CS and getting himself towards some late game power. Beyond throws in a control ward, and we'll see whether he looks for a steal on this Mountain Drake. Guga gets the inside track as well as Kuzan moves on over. And this is just Dynamics walking in and taking the lunch money of SEORABEOL Gaming.
Yeah, they get the Mountain Dragon for themselves, so nice little pickup right there. A bit bewildering was that series of events, but SEORABEOL are up almost 1,000 gold here, and we're just in the early laning phase. Now, Kuzan did pick up a Cull himself. With his tier, he's going to be going for the Muramana.
Yep.
As Rich is going to kill the Scuttle Crab.
Going to get him a little bit further as far as the money is concerned. Having a look at his stats. Regular season, 8-4. Playoffs, 3-1 as checking out his just the difference in stats between the regular season and here. And certainly has been getting some work done. You can see DPM-wise looking great. KDA also good, but if you're in a 2-0, generally, you're going to have a pretty good KDA. Yep. So that's not exactly statistics that you can really draw too much from. Results-based analysis, all that sort of stuff. Generally bad news bears as Kuzan throws out a rocket into the abyss. Doesn't find Dan Chung, but also he doesn't find the Winds of War. And our first back comes through from FaZe. He's gone for his Berserker's Greaves as well as a pickaxe. Looks like he's heading towards that first item, Infinity Edge. Wasn't what Songyun decided to do. He went for the old school Essence Reaver build. But we've been seeing a lot more of these Infinity Edge into Runan's Hurricane into Phantom Dancer for our Aphelioses. And that's looking to be what FaZe is going to do this time as Kakao gets behind Rich. Throws down a control ward there as well. They get the flash immediately. Don't know why that control ward went down, but sometimes you just like to press buttons.
Sometimes
it presses them all.
That is what ends up happening. As we have 3 minutes until the Ocean Dragon comes up, and Guger just moving through mid lane here as it
Nova was
seems
boosting
like,
it with his Predator that he picked up in the river. It looks like SEORABEOL Gaming will be able to take that one. Teleport channeled here from Rich as he's making his way back in. They're going to be late to actually get any fight happening, but they might be able to find themselves some stragglers. Not going to do so as Nova just flashes his way out. And yeah, nothing really comes from it.
Yeah, Aphelios just going to head back down into bottom, and this didn't really cost SEORABEOL all that much. I believe Galio missed maybe some CS, but not the end of the world by any means, as Aphelios just going to shove in this wave and then look to get a recall off. So, Hextech ultimatum, yep.
Yeah, Rich going to take a lot of damage here. No flash, remember. So Kakao flashes in, gets the knock-up, and the Aatrox explodes. 2-0-0 here for the promotion contractor himself. Kakao, he's just he's doing some work here for SEORABEOL Gaming. And I hope that he stays on the team this time around, unlike what happened with APK Prince when he qualified them in the last promotion tournament.
Well, seems like things are going really well for them here. Beyond going to move up to top lane.
I think the real difficulty here is that we've already given the late game to SEORABEOL Gaming anyway, and they are playing out the early game even better. The fact that Tile gets all of the turret plates on this outer turret top lane as well is just another nail in the coffin, because the aim of the game here is to allow the Camille an opportunity to scale, right? And get her to Trinity Force, Ravenous Hydra, and then she's just never going to be able to be 1v1 by anyone, and that's going to give SEORABEOL Gaming just so much more control of this map. And already they're 2.2k ahead, so going to have a look at this once more. It's pretty elementary gank, to be honest. Tal's just having a good time.
The thing about it is you see the surplus of the spellcaster minions in the back, and the wave was always coming into Rich, so it's, do you walk up that far against a Camille who's going to win the trade against you anyway, or do you just give up one minion and then get the wave for absolute safety? So lane manipulation 101 a little bit lacking here.
Yeah.
As Rich does still find himself with a very big CS lead up in top lane, but Dynamics are already down 2,000 gold, and like you mentioned that we had stated earlier on, the scaling factor is really good for SEORABEOL, as the Camille is not going to really have an answer to her in the later stages of the game. If Dynamics could drag this game out, though, Corki and Aphelios can try to do something, but again, it comes down mostly to the Corki to be a saving grace. 15 seconds on the Ocean Dragon.
And I think actually them walking in and stealing away that Mountain Drake might be something that they can rely on moving forward, hoping, of course, that it's not a Cloud Drake, which it obviously is going to be, because that's just how things work.
As is tradition, Atlas,
And I need to try and curse it as much as possible so that we get ourselves an Infernal Drake, which will be much more fun. And that might help Dynamics answer Tal in his split push, as Nova had started off this Drake, but once again, Dynamics are just going to move on in. Rich, completely known to SEORABEOL Gaming, is going to move over as well, as this is going to be our first true 5v5. Ocean Drake going down very, very low. Package just delivered over here as they are able to secure it beyond flags. Drags, gets himself out, and it's a Drake for free, and of course, it's a Cloud Soul.
Yeah, and Cloud Soul is pretty bad news bears for Dynamics. They don't have champions that really utilize the 20% ultimate CDR that they're going to get if they do manage to go all the way to Cloud Soul. Obviously, the Dragon is still giving over beneficial stats once they end up getting to it, but things are definitely going to be a little bit rough. Hextech Ultimatum
underneath the turret here as well, as Kuzan's going to get knocked up. The taunt flashed away from there by Kuzan, but the Colossal Smash comes in and puts the Corki in the Death Chamber. That was well forced on the side of SEORABEOL Gaming, but they are able to come out on top as Dan Chung does get stunned. There's the Cataclysm over the wall as Cosmic Radiance does come down. Dan Chung, good dub two-man taunt as Nova just uses his showstopper very interestingly there, and it is just going to be answered by Team Dynamics. Nova now finds himself on the wrong side of everything. Oh, not going to get knocked up, but FaZe just flashing on forward. The Haymaker doesn't get anything done, and I don't know why FaZe decided to flash, but he's still able to get the kill, so not too bad as Kuzan just teleports down towards the bottom side after he gets out of the Death Chamber, and he's going to be able to pick up that gold. So this is definitely good news for Dynamics, getting themselves 3 kills off the back of just their Corki dying.
And so we can actually take a look at this. So Dan Chung shoving in the wave as Tal wanted to dive. Hextech Ultimatum channeled into the Galio ultimate, and just a really fast follow-up, and Dan Chung doesn't go up, which is a little bit surprising because Kakao sitting on top of a ward. He had the Tremor Sense, but he didn't react. And eventually Rich just able to bring him down, and then Dan Chung dying as well. Nova followed shortly thereafter, and this was a really big breath of fresh air for Dynamics. And like you pointed out, why on earth did FaZe flash? Yeah. I don't know. I couldn't tell you, Alice.
You can't?
Nah.
You don't have the answer to that one? I thought you were all seeing, all knowing.
All right, well, listen, let me show you why I'm a color caster.
Okay, yeah.
He flashed because he pressed the D key.
Oh! Yeah, he is a Delasher, isn't he? Actually, no, I found out that Wadid is a Delasher as well, so...
I will give
I'm changing my flash to D.
Yeah.
I have to, because I know that, you know, in the Church of Wadid, he knows all, and he tells everyone exactly what they need to do.
Do you know apparently it's Wadid?
Wadid?
Apparently. Because you know, I think we should ask him. Because he writes it in Korean too. And I think it comes from Korean. And in Korean it's Wadid.
Damn. Well, I mean, as far as pronunciation is concerned, I tend to butcher most names because of my Australian accent.
Honestly,
you nail it every single time. Like,
I really do.
Yeah.
I am a bit of a connoisseur.
It's so weird that people don't understand how to pronounce Corsican that well. As Sungyun's going to fail the flash. He failed one in the last series. He wants to do it again as he's now stuck in that Cataclysm. Moonlight Vigil comes down. FaZe just likes pressing buttons, guys. He really does. He didn't even get an assist on that kill. Now Rich, the Infernal Chain's doing a lot of work here. Shirley is going to get a charge on this outer turret in the mid lane, and SEORABEOL Gaming unable to get anything back. And they are bleeding this gold lead as Team Dynamics are taking control in this mid game.
So this is definitely very worrisome for SEORABEOL because they were so far ahead and had such a clear-cut way to victory by just allowing the Camille to keep scaling up and then just wave clearing over and over with the Galio and the MF. MF, however, had a hot date in bot lane. Failed the flash, gets collapsed on by Beyond and Guger. And
FaZe needed to hit Beyond with the Moonlight Vigil.
He actually moved his index finger up to the northeast on his keyboard and pressed the R key.
Right.
Yeah.
Oof.
I will, I'll give you an invoice later for that one.
Yeah, I mean, this is free coaching for me. This is so good. Normally, you need at least a Twitch Prime to get that one.
Or two, yeah.
Yeah. Did you do your coaching with Nemesis? Did that happen? How did that go?
I've done quite a few players actually. I've had quite a few players on stream last week.
That's cool. It's
yeah,
cool.
It's very nice.
I haven't caught too much of it. I need to catch up. I've been doing a lot of casting and then sleeping.
Okay.
Which doesn't allow me to watch LS's stream and for me to utilize.
That's gonna be me tonight.
My subscription, which I certainly need to do more of.
Yep.
I'll make sure I hop in soon. Check out the next ones. That's, of course, the best thing you can do on twitch.tv.
No doubt.
Yeah.
It
just feels good. It just feels good. It feels right. This also feels right. Team Dynamics just going to steal away yet another dragon. Nova also getting full comboed by Rich. He's going to die for free. In fact, Guga picks up that kill, and now Cataclysm has been channeled. It's only a one-man taunt from Dan Chung, who's just going to get taken down. FaZe picking up even more money as Tal hanging out in the Dragon Pit for absolutely no reason, just trying to escape. And seems to me like SEORABEOL Gaming have imploded in this mid-game transition.
Really, really surprising. Now, Songyun, he casts his ultimate to wave clear, but the gold advantage goes over to Dynamics. I would still say that SEORABEOL are in an okay position in this game, even though they're facing Soul Point, because it's Cloud.
Yeah.
If that was an Infernal, I would say this is really scary, because all of a sudden now Dynamics could just flip it. They could burst the next one, try to win it, and then proceed to win the team fight. But we'll see what ends up happening. So take a look at Kakao on the right-hand side. He's doing nothing, and you can see that Tual. Whoa, that was really. That's actually how it's pronounced.
That is how it's pronounced.
Yeah, I don't. My brain just broke for a second.
Well, we know that you understand how to pronounce every name correctly, so
no doubt.
That's totally fine. Whatever you decide to say, that is then the new evolution of how someone's supposed to have their name pronounced.
When I went to say it, I saw the Hangul version in my head.
Yeah.
And it was so weird.
Well,
actually.
Rich is actually looking for this 1v1. Is going to employ Guga to come on over, and that's going to get the flash out of Tal. And that is really bad news, guys. If the Aatrox is winning the 1v1, that is not how it's supposed to work. This composition relies on Tal being able to utilize the Camille to just win this matchup, as FaZe gets himself a whole bunch of chakrams and is looking to try and rip through this turret. We zoom all the way out while we have a look at this total gold as SEORABEOL are thinking about trying to find some sort of dive. Dynamics, they scope it out. They're going to get rid of this Camille from their jungle. Kuzan looking to try and get himself to safety. Valkyrie and Flash is enough to get himself out of the way as Dan Chung tanked up that turret for a really long time. Teleport comes in, and a lot of extra movement speed available here as Guga gets the flash forward, but the stun is eaten by the tunnel. SEORABEOL still looking to try and get out here, but there's the flash. Beyond is going to be able to trade Cataclysm for flash there with Dan Chung, and that's always going to be worth. 2.5 minutes on the Cloud Soul, and the Baron is going to be up in 8 seconds' time. Not something that Dynamics are going to go for just yet, but you can see that they are feeling very confident, despite the fact that there is absolutely no gold lead whatsoever. They've been winning consistently these last fights. And
Ooh.
it's 20 minutes ticks over, and we're on the Baron, boys.
And there's no... Oh, now, okay, I don't know if that's the Baron spectator, but all right, Rich might just give it away. And I believe that he has, but you can see
It
Cacao
doesn't matter. Look at the damage out of this Aphelios.
He's in Antarctica right now.
That was definitely not 200 years.
That was not 200 years.
That was barely 200 milliseconds. And that Baron went down.
Well,
oh my God. Okay, well, that's a free Baron. Easy.
And the thing about this Baron is that it's going to convert into the Cloud Soul. So Dynamics are going to pick this up, and that is just so massive of a swing. And I never could have envisioned this being the turnaround here in this game after the early game for SEORABEOL going so well. And the other thing is that a few of the champions right now on the side of SEORABEOL, they're stuck. Galio has Seekers, has an Amped Tome, has Stopwatch. So even when he upgrades into Zhonya's, he's going to be basically the same champion for the next couple of minutes. There's nothing, there's no real change that's going to happen. And even the next recipe item won't really change Galio all that much. So, jungle
Beyond is just going to get murdered. So Tal now looking to try and deal with Kuzan. There's the flash from Cacao, though, gets the knockup, but I don't know whether he wins that 1v1, as Rich is going to be able to take down Tal. There's the Cosmic Radiance. Now Dan Chung finds himself in the middle of the members of Team Dynamics. Moonlight Vigil comes down as well. Nova going to get slowed. Rich is going to be there to answer, as it's a double kill in for the Aphelios, and Dynamics turn it all around. That was their jungler being caught, and they turned it into 4 kills.
They turned it into 4 kills, and Beyond didn't even have to blow his flash or anything, so he's going to be able to keep that. They're going to raise the mid-tier 2 turret, and they should immediately turn right back around and head towards the Cloud Soul, I would imagine, as Kuzan is going to pick up the Wolves.
Yep, Wolves very important, as Beyond is going to walk out of the Death Chamber and straight into the Dragon Pit and take down that Cloud Soul that has come up exactly at the right time. As we have a look at this one more time, this looked like just a clean pick.
Yeah. Beyond just goes down with basically no fight. And then Cacao even invests his flash to try to get onto the Corki, but it's a Rek'Sai. So, not going to be able to kill him whatsoever. Dan Chung ends up going in, uses his stopwatch, that's fine. He's going to pick up the Zhonya's. And the Gravitum coming out by Aphelios ends up locking him up.
Rich is just really good at team fighting on Aatrox. He just really is. I think that maybe SEORABEOL Gaming should probably ban one of the 2 champions that he can play, but here's another team fight. Infernal Chains is going to land. There's the World Ender once again for Rich, as the Showstopper gets into the backside, but Nova is just going to die. Cloud Soul comes in as we talk about it. Bullet Time does basically nothing,
Aatrox,
as it's a double kill. Aatrox does fall down, but now Beyond's looking for the knockup, gets it onto Sungyun in the backline. A triple kill for Kuzan, as Cacao and Dan Chung just escape. They run for the hills, and now with Baron still running for another second, they move this minion wave towards the inner turret and use their Cloud Soul to help take that one down. Really nicely done from Dynamics, and they are just smashing these team fights every single time.
And it's looking like they're going to raise the inhibitor turret. Now, I think backing off would be more ideal, but it looks like they want to actually raise the inhibitor.
I actually don't mind this, because there's an outer turret still up top lane, and if they've got super minions pushing down bottom side, it's going to mean that Tal is going to take a lot longer to try and push that wave out. So they can grab both of those economic turrets and extend this lead ever further.
And Baron's coming up in 2.5 minutes, so we'll see what they can manage to do with it. It's only a 5,000 gold lead, roughly, as SEORABEOL does have some waves that they have to get to. They'll pick that up for themselves. As we come back into the replay, and pay attention to Aatrox on the right-hand side. Superplex onto Kuzan, but he just gets to reposition instantly. And honestly, I have no idea how he lived here. He got so much healing.
Yeah.
And Dan Chung almost died, but not quite able to. Triple kill picked up by Kuzan as he Valkyrie forward onto Sungyun.
And Kuzan is very, very big right now. As you can see, he's picked up the rapid fire cannon. Dan Chung's dead. As we get back into live, I don't know. He was, I guess, looking for a different place to perch, and that wasn't the one that he wanted. As now Rich up against 3 people. We'll see what he can do with it. Able to turn that one around. He's still sitting at half health. There are not enough forbidden books here to try and stop this, as now Nova Gets the superplex, but he dies in midair. That is Team Rocket blasting off again. I think just a little bit, as he's just going to shoot himself towards that death chamber, and now FaZe moves towards this inner turret towards the top side of the map. Dynamics still pushing in the mid lane as well, as this inhibitor turret doesn't have too much longer. And Team Dynamics have full control of this game. And we were talking about this as being SEORABEOL's game to lose, right? Because the split push was going to be impossible to stop. Tal's been trying to team fight. It's mismanagement of what this composition is supposed to do, right?
So the really weird thing was in the early to mid transition, SEORABEOL was actively trying to make plays and try to get even further ahead, and that was just completely unnecessary. We're going to have one last Hail Mary.
Yeah, the flanking teleport from Tal. Rich is here with him, though. As Beyond, he's down to half health. Oh, interrupted on the hook shot, but still the heroic entrance comes down. Tal goes golden, answered by the Cosmic Radiance. Tal's going to get stunned. The Aphelios picks up the first kill. Nova going to go down as well. Kuzan grabs that. Tal now trying to run away. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of the game. Kuzan's going to chase after, try and get another one. Rich picks up the kill onto Sangyun. There is only Kakao alive. And Team Dynamics will win game number 1 in pretty fast fashion. Honestly, this felt like just another day in the office for this team, despite the fact that SEORABEOL did have, in the draft, a clear way of winning. It didn't matter. 9,000 gold to the lead at the end, 26 minutes after a 20-minute Baron was taken down. All looked too easy for Dynamics.
And Dynamics are one game away from getting into the LCK.
Yeah.
So this is a really clutch moment for them. As it currently stands, if I could give an MVP to anyone in that game, I would definitely give it over to Rich.
Me too.
Up there in top lane.
But I think, like, this is so hard, right? Because when a player's biggest weakness is their champion pool, like, Rich is a fantastic Aatrox player, but, like, why isn't it banned? Why aren't they picking it away? Like, why aren't they trying to take control of this draft? I really don't understand. I think that this is the same issue that happened to Sandbox as well. I mean, they let through the Aphelios. Now he's 9-0 on the Aphelios pick phase. Hasn't been forced into playing anything else throughout this entire tournament.
Yep.
And Rich has been able to get exactly the champions that he wants as well. I think he's now 2 games on Aatrox and 1 on Lucian. And he's a 2-trick of those 2 champions. Like, ban something away. I don't know. It's very, very strange. But still, they played well on Dynamics' side.
They did. They really recovered in the mid game, and now I believe they move over to the blue side, or the red side, right?
Yes.
So they're going to have counter picks now available to them. And this is worrisome because SEORABEOL, the scariest part for them should have been the early game, but it wasn't. They got ahead.
Yeah,
they
great.
blundered. Needlessly aggressive, and then also, even in some of the mid-game skirmishes, looked like they were very out of tune with one another.
And also out of tune with what their comp's supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
Like, the composition's supposed to be playing sort of 4v5 disengage mode while Tal goes to work, right? Because all the time that Tal gets to split push is time that SEORABEOL Gaming are winning. And they had a composition that is able to do that, right? Like, they have certain modes that allows them to get in and out of fights and things like that, so I don't know, man. It just seemed like they didn't understand how this composition was supposed to work. I think we've spoken about this in the past where it's difficult to play some of these split pushing comps, but it just didn't quite work out. As we're going to check out some of these highlights. And this was an example of everything going right for SEORABEOL Gaming at the beginning. This was, on the back of this, Tal gets 5 turret plates and is set up to win the game.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing about this is they had the Corki, which was one of the outs for Dynamics, actually put 6 feet under.
Yeah.
Kuzan was getting caught and dying at several points inside of this game. Kakao didn't even react to the tremor sense.
Very weird.
That was very, very strange. So he ends up dying. And a flash forward by Cougar, killing Dan Chung with Beyond.
This is where FaZe, watch this flash. Oh, love it. Amazing. Really needed to do that.
Yeah, that looked like me on 80 carry, I'll be honest with you. Flash and melee range.
Oh, hell yeah.
That was really...
That's the sign of a true winner. As there's the fail flash. I don't think Sangyun really wanted a replay of that particular moment, as FaZe is going to Moonlight Vigil his teammate and failed to get an assist on that particular kill. Didn't matter in the end, 1 iota. As this was a decent, flash knockup from Kakao, but there was just no follow-up from anyone. Cosmic Radiance from Gugu, absolutely fantastic. As Beyond died, yes, but I mean, this bullet time only tickles the members of Team Dynamics, and Rich once again just too huge in the front line. As Dynamics seem to have a lot more practice in this style of composition, and SEORABEOL Gaming looked a little bit worse for wear when it came to piloting this comp effectively. God, and Rich got so much healing.
Honestly, their mid-game looks so much cleaner. And not just in this game, but also in the series from yesterday that they ended up playing.
Yeah.
This is really looking like Dynamic might just take it away 2-0.
Well, we'll see whether they do as we have a listen in. We'll see how easy they thought this game was.
That was like a Magikarp used Flash on the Camille. Or Magikarp used Splash, sorry.
Yep.
Go forward, go forward, go forward. End guys, end guys, end guys.
Look at Kuzan's smile. He's like, yeah, another easy game.
나 와드 딱 작으로 가려 했는데 바로 뛰어나왔어.
아니야 잘했어. 와드를 안 막았는데 그냥 누고 있어 옆에 거기에. 그냥 있어.
그거 조심해야 돼.
플래시 방어.
Apparently they said, I tried to ward and they just showed up. Sorry. And then they just win the game. Some adorable bees come out as well as we have a look at the damage graph. Most damage in the game goes to Rich. I think that in the draft phase, SEORABEOL need to look at this guy and try and take some things away because this Camille pick into the Aatrox did not work whatsoever. And it was a very swift game number 1. 26.5 minutes is not close, guys. And this is with a composition that actually scales relatively well. I mean, we were talking about SEORABEOL having the scaling advantage, but that's based on what the team composition's trying to do, with the Camille in a side lane being unanswerable, theoretically, in a lot of other games. But this time around, Tal wasn't able to actually get that split push to work, and Team Dynamics just roll over the top by being able to have 5v5s that should have never existed.
Yeah, they never should have ever gotten to the point that they were at. So we'll see what game number 2 has in store for us.
Yeah, and see whether the draft is going to be a little bit rearranged. So we are going to have a short break. When we get back, we'll see whether that draft has been updated by SEORABEOL or whether Dynamics get that 2-0.